So let us understand the whole things from the scratch itself. Like let's say initially we did not have like any kind of cloud platform for DevOps, like Azure was not there or so. So in that case, during that time, what we were doing, we used to set up our like GitHub account or GitLab account separately, push our source code there, right? That will be considered as one tool. Secondly, for the CI/CD part, we need to set up a tool. Generally, like in most places, Jenkins is being used, so that is second tool, right? Thirdly, in order to perform, and don't worry, I'll be explaining SonarQube to everything in detail in a minute. And also, like we want to perform code quality check and code coverage. So for that, we have a tool like SonarQube, right? That also we have to separately set up. Next, like if our project contains build artifact that gets created as a part of byproduct while building the application, so we can store or manage those artifacts on a third-party tool like Nexus or like JFrog Artifactory. Okay, so these are the basic tools or general tools that we need to have minimum in order to build applications, right? And separately, we need to build all these applications. Okay. And it requires quite a lot of time. It requires like some amount of storage we need to give and everything, right? Also, another thing that we need to understand that if we are having multiple team members, so each team member should be having access to their, okay, and level of access should be defined separately, right? So the problem statement that we have here, in case of like using just native tools on like local or like separately on our own machines, what we need to do, we need to set every tool up separately, right? That is the problem statement, you can say. Secondly, access should be managed separately. Like some person will be having full access to these platforms, some persons will be having just like read only access. So those things we need to manage. Also, we need to give them resources. By resources, I means like, see, if you want to run Jenkins on SonarQube, you need to give them some storage, you need to give them some CPU, RAM, all those things, right? Okay. And again, like all these things, once we do, then only we can get started. Okay. And you know, in DevOps, basically any tool that exists, it exists because it solves a problem, right? So we have a problem statement now. It's not like exactly like a problem, but basically it's like it requires too much effort, right, to set up all these tools and start with this like building and deploying applications. Now, to solve this like this kind of issue, what we have Cloud DevOps platform. Okay, at this point, most of the cloud platforms like Azure, AWS, they are already providing a DevOps platform separately, which you can use to perform CI/CD. Okay, most most widely used cloud platform, we have AWS and Azure. Now, how much I have like used these two cloud platforms, at this point I understand that AWS is much better if you want to set up infrastructure, if you want to create just resources for usage, while if you want to perform complete CI/CD build and deployment, then Azure is best option. Okay, now talking about how exactly Azure like solves these kind of issues, right? So basically, you know, when you create account on Azure, you can set up a platform which is known as Azure DevOps organization. Okay, now what exactly is Azure DevOps organization? So let me explain you that first. You know, in Azure, basically we have two parts. First we have, which is known as Azure Cloud, or you can also call them as Azure Portal. Second part that we have, which is Azure DevOps. Now you need to understand this, these two things, they are separate platforms. Okay, so basically Azure Cloud, what we do, we can create or provision resources. Provisioning means creating or managing the resources. So what kind of resources we can create? Anything we can create with respect to Azure. We can create virtual machines, we can create ACR, Azure Container Registry, for storing our artifacts. We can create AKS, like Azure Kubernetes service. It's like a managed Kubernetes service which is managed by Azure platform. Okay, then we can create like web app service. So all different service we can create in Azure Cloud Platform. It supports like I don't know how many services, but lots of services that are there which we can create, we can use it. Okay, while Azure DevOps Platform, it basically creates a platform for you which is already integrated with tools like a repo, which is known as Azure Repo. Okay, now look closely. here we had GitHub for storing our artifacts. So on this platform separately you will be getting repo available. Okay. Secondly, here we are also going to see Azure pipelines. Okay. So now this section, Azure pipelines, it's going to be used for writing the CI/CD pipelines for build and deployment. Okay. For separately we were using Jenkins. That means we need to set up Jenkins for writing our CI/CD pipelines, right? That also comes integrated within this platform. Thirdly, we also have a section which is known as Azure artifacts. Okay. Now Azure artifacts, it's basically same as this one, Nexus. For storing any kind of application artifacts, we can store it inside like on this Azure artifact things, this tool. Now basically all these three things are by default integrated with Azure DevOps platform. Okay. So here we have the benefit that once we create the account on Azure, we can directly have this platform and we can directly start writing the CI/CD pipelines and perform build and deployment. We don't need to worry about like setting up all these tools separately. Only SonarQube we need to set up because it does not come integrated with it. But rest, the most important things like performing the CI/CD thing, we don't need to worry about setting up. Also talking about the access, as I mentioned, for you need to manage access also. So that part also comes here, like access management. So we can give access based on the what level of access we want the user to have. We can give access. That option is also integrated with Azure DevOps platform. Okay, and that is why at this point most companies are preferring to migrate their projects on cloud. Why? Because it reduces lot of effort. Because if you are like deploying your application on your like self-hosted Kubernetes cluster, you took VMs, you set up Kubernetes and you are running your application there. So if anything goes wrong, it's you who need to worry about, and it's you who need to decide what I need to do in order to fix our cluster, right? So that also requires a lot of effort. While when we set up a cloud Kubernetes service, or you can say managed Kubernetes service on Azure or like AWS, so that Kubernetes service, we just need to provide the information about how big a cluster we want. Rest, everything is being managed by the cloud platform team. So there also we don't need to worry about managing our cloud platform services, right? So the main reason while cloud platforms are being used as much now as compared to before is because they reduces lot of manual effort. We don't have to do lot of things. Also for writing pipelines, most of the pipelines we can just write using templates. Now you can understand templates is like it's kind of blueprint. We just to modify things and we can have the pipeline. Okay, so that is also very big benefit of this cloud platforms, cloud DevOps platform, that we don't need to worry much about writing pipelines because we have the templates. We just need to modify the template and then we can have the pipeline. Okay, so this is why we at this point most company there is a company, I cannot take name. There is a MNC company, you might have already heard about it. Its name start with A. So basically one of my friends works there, and the project in which he works, the task of that project is just to migrate the company's internal projects to cloud. From last 2-3 years he has been doing that only. From there I started to know that okay, most of the companies are going with this option to migrate their projects on cloud because it reduces the manual effort. Another thing, like if you are going setting up all these things, obviously it's going to cost a lot of money. You need to take virtual machines where you need to provide some resources, CPU, RAM and everything, and that is going to cost money, right? So and same thing what companies decide to do, that okay, if we are already paying the money and managing the services by ourselves, so instead of that, what we can do, we can pay the money to cloud platforms and ask them to manage our resources. In that way it reduces a lot of manual effort, and that's why at this point most companies prefer to like migrate their projects to cloud or side by side using cloud resources. Okay, now anyone having any doubts till now? Do you, all of you like understand why we have Azure as compared to, why Azure is better as compared to like these native tools? Yeah, you are having doubt or it's clear? Okay, yeah, great. Okay, so yes, no, see, the thing is as I say Jenkins is what, why do we use Jenkins? We use Jenkins because we can write the CI/CD pipelines there. right? Same thing Azure for writing CI/CD pipelines, we have this option, Azure Pipelines, a tool already integrated with Azure DevOps platform. I'll be showing demo in also. So separately, we don't need to install Jenkins. Okay. Sorry. We are just using Azure DevOps as of now. Okay. So now let me show you like how we can set up all these things. Okay. Just to let you know, for those who are completely new to Azure, if you are creating your Azure account for the first time, I think it gives around $200, which is valid for 1 month. So once you have like practiced enough, you have watched enough videos on internet or YouTube, and you are confident that okay, now I can start doing hands-on, then I would suggest you can create a free account using your debit or credit card, I think. Okay, and you can get initial $200, which is around like 14,000 something, and you can use this amount to create resources within Azure DevOps or Azure Cloud Platform. Okay, so once you are confident, then only create, because this will be valid for 1 month, I guess. And yeah, okay. So now let us do one thing. Let us create our Azure DevOps platform. So for me, basically, since I think already I have used already the free version of Azure DevOps long ago. So at this point, I actually use this Cloud platform. Okay, and here basically I can create a temporary Azure DevOps platform. Okay, which should be valid for 3 hours, I guess, for me. Okay, for you, you simply need to go to Google and you can search here like create Azure account, Azure free account, and you can sign up there, providing you like some Microsoft email. It will ask you to create. You can create and you can just register. Okay, you can see it gives around $200, which will be available for usage. Okay, so for me, yeah, this is the platform that I have created. So let me log into it, then I can do some demo. Let me remove this. Okay, so once you have created your free account, yeah, once you have created your free account, this is the first page that you will see. Now this is what URL, definitely you should remember, portal.azure.com. This is the Azure Cloud Platform or Azure portal page, where you can provision resources, any kind of resources that you want to use. You can create, for example, few resources, most commonly used resources, you can see available here. Rest, whatever resource you want to create, you can simply search here. For example, if I search VM, you can see it gives suggestion that okay, virtual machines you want to see. You can click on that, and resource whichever you want to use, you can just click on create, start configuration, and you can create the resources whichever you want based on your requirement. You can like size and those things you can define, and then you can create. Similarly, let's say I want to create Kubernetes, so I can search here Kubernetes, and there are these options, and for me required one is Kubernetes services, so I can click on that, and it will ask me that okay, you want to create Kubernetes cluster. Again, for creating Kubernetes cluster, we can provide all the information, a version and everything, and then it will create. Okay, so it's, you can see it's like very much beneficial for us, because we don't have to like put so much of manual effort. We just need to have the configuration that is going to be required for our project, like how many worker nodes should be there, how many node pools should be there, those kind of information, and then we can simply provide that information to Azure and it will create. Okay, and it's not key there are only these many services, there are tons of services. For example, like one of the services that actually I use in my company is Databricks, so that also exists. Like everything is there, whatever kind of resources you want to create, you can create from here. You can simply search here. Okay, now this is the portal, Azure portal page, where we can provision resources and manage them. Okay, talking about Azure DevOps, so we can search here as Azure DevOps. Okay, first option that comes, Azure DevOps organization, so we can click on that, and on left down side you see this option, my Azure DevOps organization. Okay, so now the platform that we are going to create, it's known as Azure DevOps organization, and the best part about this platform is that we can create multiple platforms. Let me create again. One second. Okay, so it will require like basic details, and you can just put it there, like your email, your name, your location, the nearest location you can just put. Okay, and it will take us to next page. Okay, so whatever number of organization you have created, you can see it here. As of now, since there is no separate organization I have created, so I can click on create new organization. Okay, and here we need to provide the name of organization. Any name we want we can put. For example, I can put at AZ masterclass. Okay, and make sure that this option that we have, we will host your projects in, so make sure that you choose the location which is nearest to you. Okay, after that we just put need to put this captcha. Let's see. Okay, now this is the first page that you will see once you create your organization. Also on left side, if you see, there is this option new organization plus our current organization name. New organization, that means if I click on this I can create other organization. Okay, so basically to understand in simple ways, this is what an organization looks like. Okay, let's say I created an organization. Okay, so basically inside the organization we can create multiple project, P1, P2, P3, P4, multiple projects we can create inside an organization, and each project will be having separate whole list of like CI/CD pipelines, repo and everything. Okay, and if we are having separate projects, it's much easier to give access to person to like specific project we can give access. Okay, so coming back here, let's say I create one project named as P1. Okay, click on create project. Okay, so this project is created. Okay, and this is the first page on your project. Whichever you create, you will be able to see. Best part, if you look at left side, we have this overview. Overview basically going to show a little bit information about project, like here, like what is your project about. That information will come. In project stats, we will see like how many pipelines are success, how many pipelines are failed in percentage format. Then here we can see members who are part of this project or having access. Okay, then we have second option, which is boards. Now at this point, people who are already working in companies, you might know there is a ticketing tool exists in every company, which is known as Jira. Most commonly used ticketing tool is Jira. So alternative to Jira, we have boards here. Here also we can create tasks and tickets, and it can be assigned to people so that work progress can be tracked. Tracked means like obviously if manager is going to give some task to you, they expect to see the updates. What is the update going? For example, if I click on create task, okay, here we can provide like some title that this is a task to be done and some detailed description. Okay, then we can assign it to some user who is part of this project, and we can save this. So after that, what happens, whenever user is doing something, whatever he has done, he's going to update that in discussion section. So next time if manager wants to track progress, how much task is done, they can simply come to Azure boards, see the list of tickets, like which ticket who is working on, and they can see the progress there. Okay, so similar to ticketing tool, we have boards here, and here also we can create tickets and tasks and everything, and it can be basically used to see the track the work progress. Okay, then we have Azure repo. Azure repo is similar to like GitHub or GitLab. Best part is that it also is going to use the git commands only. Okay, so basically what we can do, we can create like push our repo, source code inside Azure repo. And best part, again, separately we don't have to set up Azure repo. It's already coming inside this project. Okay, and you can see this option, generate git credentials. Basically you can click on that, it will generate the username and password for this project, and you can use this to like git push, git command, those things you can work with this. Okay, then we have this option, existing repository from command line. So this like if you are already having an existing repository, then you can use this. Third option also, we have import a repository. So if I click on that, basically if I have a project somewhere else which I want to just put it inside Azure DevOps for usage, I can simply First of all, repository type you can select. Generally we have Git, and Git is one of the most widely used that we can use. Then we have like 𝗘𝗲𝗿𝐶 also. It is like one of the services of Azure only. Okay, so generally with Git what we can do, sorry guys, it's already recording, do not worry. Yeah, okay. So now what we can do, we can simply, like, this is one of the project that I have recently worked with, so I can copy the Git URL of this project and I can simply put here. Now if your project is private, then you need to click on this option. You need to check requires authentication, provide the username and token, then only you will be able to like import it. But since my project is public, so we don't need to provide authentication, so we can click on import. What it does, it's simply going to clone this repository inside Azure repo. Okay, so let's wait for a few seconds, and once it is done, then we can proceed to next step. Okay, this is done. Now if I click on repos, we can see our project is been cloned here along with all the branches that we have. Okay, now yeah, before we move to pipelines, I want to show you one more thing. So basically in Azure we have two kind of pipelines. In Azure DevOps we have two kinds of pipeline. One kind is known as classic pipeline, which is like very much easier, and many companies prefer to use this for like small projects. It's like very easy to use. Okay, second option that we have is known as YAML pipeline. Okay, the good thing about both kind of pipelines is that this is the easiest, and even though some people know okay, they may not know how to write YAML pipelines, but still we have a very good options available using which we can write YAML pipeline. Basically we can generate the code which we want to use in YAML format, and we can just put it in our pipeline. Okay, so both these options are available. Now let me show you how we can get both the options. So if I go here, now if I go to pipelines, where we can create pipelines. Okay, by default you see there are only three options available: pipelines, environment and library. If I click on create pipeline, so it's going to give me just an option to write YAML pipeline. Okay, but you see there is no option to write classic pipeline. So how do we get that? So basically what we need to do, we need to first go on our organization, and left down side you can see this option, organization settings. So click on that, and here we need to basically by default what it does, it's going to disable the classic pipeline, but we can enable it. We can scroll down to here, pipelines, then settings, and scroll down. You see the last two options, disable creation of classic build pipelines, that is enabled. So we are going to disable both these options. Okay, once we have disabled them, then going back here and going back inside the project, now you see we have releases option available and deployment groups also. That means now we should be able to create the classic editor pipelines, right? One more thing, team, before we start writing pipelines, so I'll show you. See, this is like project one where we have all the tools separately, right? Now let's say I want to create another project. Let's say P2. This also I'm keeping private, and click on create. Okay, now you see interesting thing is that each project will be getting separate set of repos, pipelines, artifact, all these options separately will be coming. Okay, that is very good thing, because each project will be completely isolated from another project. Okay, and yeah, again as I say, inside like organization you can create multiple projects, and you can create multiple organization also. Okay, now coming back. We can use, but no, sorry, access, see, it is not recommended, and basically I have not tried that, because usually, see, because there is no point in using repo from our second project to first project, because each project will be having separate set of access. Okay, so based on that, if like access is same, if some person is going to use it, access is same, based on that we can see. But by default I wouldn't recommend to do that, because what you can do, let's say you want to have project from second one, so what you can do, you can simply create new repository in the same project. You can create a new repository, and then you can push that code, and then you can utilize it. That will be the much better option. Yeah, so now coming to pipelines, now what we can do, we can click on create pipeline, and now you can see along with YAML options we have this classic editor option also enabled, right? So we can click on that, and now let me show you how we can create classic editor pipelines. So here, first of all, you can select a source. You can even build a project that is not existing on Azure repo. If it is existing outside, bro, so let's do those things afterward. Let me first teach everyone. Okay. Yeah. See, so here for creating pipelines, basically the source of the code where it can exist, we can pick up from other places also. From GitHub also use, from GitLab also use. Okay. So that we can select, and by default it's selecting Azure Repos Git. Then you can select the project, then repository, and then branch. Okay. Let's say I'll be going with main branch. Okay. Click on continue, and here we can select the task. Now this task will decide what you need to select based on what kind of project you are having. So for me, I'm having Maven project, so I can select Maven, right? But here we have other options also. If you have different kind of project, you can, based on that, you can decide what task you need to select. So for example, I'll go with Maven. As soon as I select Maven, this page is created, and this is our pipeline. Here we can rename it also. Let me write it as first CI pipeline. Okay. Now talking about what things we are having here. So first option you see here, pipeline. Okay. Here the name, like display name, we can select. Then agent pool. What is agent pool? So basically in Azure DevOps, agent pool is basically just a group inside which multiple agents will be there. Now what are agents? So if you remember in Jenkins or GitHub Actions also, in Jenkins, basically if you want to build application, on a inside Jenkins, so generally what we do, we take a virtual machine and make it as Jenkins slave, right? And we install all the tools required for the application to be built on this slave machine, and then we built our application on this. Similarly, in case of GitHub Actions, what we do, we take a virtual machine, make it as a runner. Runner is also similar to slave, a third-party VM where we can install all the tools, and then there we can build our application. Okay. So similar to that, Azure also have its own version of like agents. So two options we have. Initially, you can use the default Azure pipelines version, option, where you can simply select the which virtual machine you want. For example, let's say I want to use Ubuntu latest. That we can use. But the problem at this point, long ago, like I think 2 years back, basically whenever you selected this option, everything would be fine. Your project can be built on machine which is Ubuntu latest type. But at this point, if I try to use the free version of like agents or for building our application, it does not give us permission to do that. For that, we need to like create a form. We need to send that form, fill that form, like provide information about why do we need a free agent, and we need to send it to Microsoft. Okay. Then only based on their like if they decide to give us access, then only we will be able to build our applications on that. But in generally in companies, what happen, they are going to bring their own virtual machine and as like add that virtual machine as an agent. Okay. The reason for doing that is like companies prefer to have complete control over the agent where they are going to build and deploy applications, like build applications or run different commands. Okay. Because if I use this option, so I won't be having access to this machine. But if I'm using my own virtual machine as an agent, then I will be having complete control over it, right? So now, so what we can do, basically we can create our own agent pool and add a virtual machine as a agent. That also I'll be showing. Okay. For now, I am just selected this. Coming here, again, here we can just select like which resources, where is the source code that we can define, and we can select it. Again, this time we have this option again, agent selection. Okay. So generally, I'm just selecting for now Azure pipelines. Please, whoever it is, please mute your mic. Okay. Now, okay. Then we have like default task that we have for Maven. So here we can write like let's say Maven test, any name you can write. It's just a like display name. POM file. So POM file, as you see, it's like already on root directory, so it's coming here. In goals, so let's say I want to perform test, so I can write here like whatever command we run, Maven package, Maven test, so those things we can just write here. Okay. Then rest we don't need to change anything. Then we have this option. So basically, managing artifacts. So let's say the artifact that is going to be generated for our Java based application, it's going to be jar. So what we can do, first we can put that artifact inside a staging directory. Staging directory is a temporary location where your artifact, whichever you want to put, will be stored. So here I have defined that this is my project directory, right? Inside that only the artifact will be getting created after build, right? So here I have written slash like a regular expression, so that it will be able to find the jar file on my project folder. Once it is found, then it's going to publish that project publish that artifact on a artifact directory. Okay, we have this option, publish artifact directory, and it will be automatically stored there. Okay, the reason for separately storing this artifact is that we would be like very easily able to access those artifacts. Okay, now if I try to run this pipeline just now, it's going to give error. Why it's going to give error? So let me show you that as well. I can just simply trigger that, and here we can track the progress. And let's wait. Yeah, so it gave error. What error it gave? You can see no hosted parallelism hasn't purchased or granted. So as of now, we are not having any kind of agent, right? And here also it gives us a link for a form on which we can send a request. If I open this form in a new page, let's see. So basically this is a form where you can provide your details, okay, and everything, and based on that they will decide if they want to give you free access or not on the agents. Okay, so in order to make sure that since we are not able to run now, right, so what we can do, we can take our own virtual machine and add it as an agent. How do I do that? So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a virtual machine on AWS. Okay, since I have been using AWS for quite some time. Sorry, bro, your audio is not clear. Yes. Okay. Bro, ask doubt afterwards. Okay, because the thing is the platform I have created, it's valid for 3 hours. Okay, so let me just complete this whole thing, then we can take questions as much as you want. Okay. Yes, so what I'm going to do now, since I'm going to create just one virtual machine, and on the same virtual machine I can set up I can set up this 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 also and 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 also, which can be used later. So let's say I'm going to create a server, just name it as an server, taking Ubuntu machine, and I'm using the latest version, which is 24.04. Let me just select it, and instance type, so I'm going to go with, since I'm going to set up 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 also on the same machine, so I'm taking T2 large key pair that I already have, and then we have security group. Okay, now just to show you the ports that I have opened on my security group, let me show you. So these are general ports that I generally like open on my virtual machine, except this one. You can open all of them, which will be mostly required in your case. Okay, this is the most important one, 3000 to 10,000, because most of the things that like I run on this port only. Okay, so now we can create the virtual machine, and storage I'm going to give as 25, and launch instance. Let me refresh the page. Okay, so we have the IP address. The machine is not yet up, but it will be up in few minutes, I guess. So now what we can do, in order to connect to this virtual machine, we can use a tool known as 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏. Okay, so if I already have this 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 on my machine, on my laptop, so it's available for free, and I am using portable version. The reason for using portable version is that even if you're trying to do something or access virtual machines on your office laptop or office desktop, you can work with it, because it's just a folder that will be downloaded. Okay, and once you have downloaded, you can simply click on this, and this will open the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏. So how do we connect our virtual machine? So I can click on session, SSH, IP address that we have for machine, and the username. So Ubuntu machine, we have the username Ubuntu, then using the private key that is already present on my system. Okay, if I just go back here to instances, basically, if I click on launch instance, so here we have this option key pair. So if you are doing this for the first time, make sure you click on create new key pair, RSA, PEM file, and you can provide any name. As soon as you click on create key pair, it will be, that key will be downloaded on your local system, which you can use. For me, since I'm already having this key on my local, so I'm using it. Okay. Now here as yeah. So here I can and I can browse to the location on which my key is kept, which is devops.pem file. Click on open and click on OK. I'm just going to rename this to an agent. Click OK, and I will just access it again. Okay. So now my virtual machine is created and it is up and running also. So whenever you work with any virtual machine, basically Linux, so first command that you are supposed to do, sudo apt update. Apt can change based on like what kind of machine you are using. So what it does, like, you know, by default there will be lots of packages available inside this repository for this virtual machine. So in order to make sure that they are available for usage, we need to run this command, which is going to update all those, and then they will become available for usage. Okay. So let's wait for this to complete. Also, if I go back to my Azure platform, talking about how we can add a VM as a agent for our Azure DevOps. So basically, I can go to my organization. Now, you know, two cases could be there. You want that your agent should be available only to one project or should be available to all the projects in an organization. So based on your requirement, you can decide where you want to create. For example, if I go to organization settings, scroll down to here, pipelines, agent pools. Okay, click on add pool. So when you create like pool here, and when you add agent on the organization level, so that agent can be available to all the projects. But in case your requirement is that that pool should be available only to one project, then you can go to project settings. Here also we have agent pools. And now if you set up your agent here on project level, then that agent will be available only to the project. Okay. So let me set up on organization level only. Process is same actually. Okay. And here, so first we need to create agent pool. Agent pool is nothing different. It's just a group inside which we will be having agents. So here I am going to select self-hosted agent name. So I'll just put as Aditya. And you can see by default this option comes auto provision this agent pool in all the project. Okay. Click on create. Now agent pool is created. Now we need to add the agent. How can we do that? So we can click on agent and click on new agent. Now it's going to give us the command that we can use to add any virtual machine as an agent. What kind of machine we can use? Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Since I have Linux machine, so I can go with it. Now here also, based on your machine, like what kind of machine you are having, based on that you can decide which package you need to get. Okay. So first command that we have is like we need to download a package of the agent. So I will copy the URL first. Once I have done that, so I'm going to download that package. This VSTS agent package, you see, it's a package that contains all the required files that is going to make the virtual machine as an agent. Okay. Second step that we have is to create a folder, and we need to go inside that folder. See, all those commands are available here itself. So I can copy that. And now what we have to do, we need to extract that package that we have downloaded, right? So for that I can run the command tar-xvf/home/ubuntu, and the package is VSTS. So I'm going to extract it now. Okay. Now here you see there are multiple shell scripts created, out of which two of them are very important for us, config.sh and run.sh. Now config.sh shell script that you see here, it's the script that is that we are going to execute in order to make this virtual machine as an agent. All the configurations we are going to do. When the configurations are successful, then we can run the shell script run.sh to start the agent. Okay. So first command that we can run, even see same command will be written here. You see /config.sh, right? Same thing we can do /config.sh. Now you can see this is like started, the process started, and then we have this option enter yes and no, accept the team explorer, so and so. Okay, so I'm going to accept the terms. Server URL, it is asking like if we are going to add this agent to a server, our Azure DevOps platform, we need to provide the URL, right? What URL we need to give? Till your organization, you can give the URL. Copy that and simply paste it here. Now it is saying authentication type. So at this point, like in most of the tools, it is preferred to use a token instead of password, because token is much more better access. Sorry, it's much more better. Why? It's better because it's not as like a regular word. It's like a random word, very long also. So where do we get this path? So for that, we can go back here. Let's say close, and we see this option, user settings. So click on that, and we have these many options, out of which second last option we can select personal access tokens. So click on that. Now we can create a token for our own. Let's say I can provide any name, and you can set the expiration also, like how long you want this token to be available. And then scopes is basically level of access, what kind of access you want to give that token. So by default, based on what is your requirement, you can decide, okay, if I am going to use the token just for release, then you can use this. Just for build, then you can use this. For me, I create one token and I use it like everywhere, so I just can go with full access. Once you have the token created, you need to make sure that you are copying it somewhere, because it won't be visible afterward. Okay, so now we have the token also created. We can put it here. Sorry about that. Let's enter. Now we can put the token here, and you can see it says connecting to server. Now it is asking agent pool name. So the agent pool that we created was named as Aditya, if you remember. Now it is asking agent name, so any name you can give. I'm just going to go with agent 1. Okay, successfully added the agent, testing agent connection. Now it is asking work folder. So work folder, whatever task you are going to do there, whatever application you are going to build, so that will be having some workspace. So you can decide ki you want the workspace folder, the default one also, or you want to create anyone else. So basically I'm just going with _work. That will be the folder. Inside that, all the whatever things we build will be visible. So I can click enter, and now settings is saved, and you can see it is exited. Now if I go back to our Azure DevOps platform and go to organization settings, agent pools, Aditya, agent. So here you can see agent 1 is added, but it's saying it's offline. So it is offline. What we can do, as I told before, that in order to start the agent, we need to run the shell script which is available, run.sh. If I click enter, it's going to start to run. Yes, you see it says listening for jobs. That means it's waiting for any job to come. And you can see now the status is online also. Now the agent is set up, but as of now we have not yet installed any tool like Maven, Docker, or anything. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to stop this. Okay, and now let me come out of this. Okay, so now let us install Java, Maven, all those things. So I'm going to install Java first. And since we have latest is 22, but I'm still going to go with 17, because the project that I'm using, it's having the JDK being used, which is like JDK 11. So 17 will be working fine. And also like 11 is getting depreciated, I heard last time. So that's why like I'm not using 11 as of now. Okay, so Java is installed. Next we need to install is Maven. So that we can do sudo apt install Maven. Also, meanwhile these things done, let me explain you something about SonarQube. Okay, for those who are new to SonarQube, so SonarQube is basically a tool that is going to perform code quality check. Yes, wait, code quality check and code coverage. Now what exactly they are? So basically, once you have the source code ready, so your code may have different issues like code smell, code vulnerabilities, or like bugs, or any such kind of issues. So those issues can be found out using the first option, code quality check. That is what code quality check. That means ki if our source code is having very less number of issues like bugs, code vulnerabilities, technical debt, all those things, if it is very less, then we say our code quality is good. Okay, but if there are huge number of those bugs, vulnerabilities and everything, then we say that code quality is not good. Okay, so that is code quality check. Second, we have code coverage. So basically code coverage, what is code coverage? Let's say I have 10 test cases in our SonarQube, right? So the task of these 10 test cases basically is to test the functionality of 100% of code. Okay. So if once I executed my all the test cases and it was able to test the functionality of 80% of the code, then we say that 80% is code coverage. Okay. If like running test cases, if it is able to just cover, let's say 60% of code, 60% of the functionality of the code, then we can say it's the 60% is the code coverage. Whatever the percentage of code that is being covered with test cases, then we say that percentage is code coverage. Okay. Now one more thing you need to understand here is, since code coverage is dependent on test cases, that means ki whenever we are creating our pipeline, we need to make sure that test cases execution happens before SonarQube. Then only code coverage will be working, else it won't work. Also, one more thing you need to understand, that SonarQube generally on YouTube, like I have always used version community edition, like which is the open source or completely free edition of SonarQube, but there is another version which is developer version of SonarQube. Okay. One of the main differences between community and developer version is that for community edition, you can just perform analysis on a single branch or the main or master branch. Okay, that is one of the limitation. While with developer edition, we can basically use this whole process on like analysis on multiple branches. Okay, so how do we get this feature? So basically, you know, recently, not recently, like long ago, some developers, they created a plugin. They created a third-party plugin and they installed that plugin inside community version. That plugin is known as community branch plugin. Now what does this this plugin does? Basically it helps you to use the community version of the SonarQube but still perform analysis on different branches. So the developer feature, one of the developer feature you get for free. Okay, but again, two ways to set up this plugin. One is that you can download the jar file and you can get the jar file of this plugin and put it in backend of SonarQube on a certain location, which is something like this: extensions/plugins. Here you can download the jar file and restart SonarQube, then plugin will be working fine. Second option is that we can use a Docker image which is already having this plugin pre-installed. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the Docker image. I'm not sure if anyone even has said this on YouTube, but we can use a separate Docker image, not the normal community version of SonarQube Docker image. We can use a custom Docker image. Okay, so what we can do, I can go here, search for community branch plugin, and the first GitHub link that you see. So here you'll be able to find the Docker image name. If I scroll down, you see this option, Docker. And this is the Docker image name that we are going to use. It's going to install latest version. Okay. Now, as I say, why we are going to use this SonarQube, because it will help us if you want to perform analysis on different branches. We can do it using this. Okay. Now, Maven also here we have installed. Next thing, we need to install 𝗃𝗏𝗃. So 𝗃𝗏𝗃, generally, like I have separate like set of commands to install 𝗃𝗏𝗃, but since it is latest version, that command won't work. So by default in this version of Ubuntu, we have snap package of 𝗃𝗏𝗃. So we can simply execute this and that will install 𝗃𝗏𝗃. Okay, so let's wait for a few minutes. Once 𝗃𝗏𝗃 is installed, we can set up our SonarQube immediately. For that, we need to install Docker. Okay, so let's wait for this, and meanwhile let me check 143. Yeah, we have time. Okay, I guess 𝗃𝗏𝗃 is installed. We can just confirm it. 𝗃𝗏 version, and it should be showing the version of 𝗃𝗏𝗃 which we have installed, 0.49.1. Okay, now let us set up Docker, because we are going to install SonarQube through Docker. So I'm going to set up one good thing about like Ubuntu is that if you don't know any like package installation command, you can just type the name of package or the tool. So if it is available in the default package of Linux or Ubuntu machine, whichever you are using, you will get the commands. For example, you can see for Docker, I just got the apt package command. So I can install it. And also by default, basically, by default, not all the users will be having access to execute Docker commands. So what we can do in order to make sure that Ubuntu user is able to execute command, Either we can run this, which will give access to other users also, or we can specifically run this command, which will give access only to Ubuntu users. So for just demo purpose, I'm going to execute this, which is going to give access to all the users, okay, for running Docker commands. So I can just paste it here, and just to test if we are able to execute Docker commands, I can run the command docker pull hello world. I can just pull an image just for testing purpose, and then we will know okay if command is working or not. Okay, so we are able to pull, that means command is working. Now let us set up SonarQube. So I can run the command docker run -d. -d means in running in detached mode, or you can say in background. Then I can put a name also of our container, which is going to be sonar. Then we can provide the port information. So two ports we need to provide, which is one is going to be host port, second one is going to be the container port. Host port is the port that is open on this virtual machine. Container port is the port that is going to be open on the container. Okay, and by default SonarQube runs on 9000, so I'm going to put that, and here we need to provide the Docker image name. So sorry, someone saying anything? So this is the Docker image that we are going to use, and let's wait for this to pull the image locally, and it's going to create the container. And if you are using this version of SonarQube Docker image, then you would be able to perform analysis on all the different branches instead of just limited to master branch. Okay. Basically, you know how I got to know this. In my previous company, I was given a POC to figure this out, and recently I got to know okay, there is this separate plugin available, so I downloaded the plugin, installed it in backend through manual. Okay, so SonarQube is installed. What we can do, we can try to access it. Sorry about that. I can get the IP address on which SonarQube container is created. I can just paste it here itself, port 9000. And you can see it is starting. Okay, so it will take few minutes. Meanwhile, what we can do, we can configure other things also. I can go back here. Now, as of now, agent is not up and running. Okay, but since we have installed Java, we have installed Maven, we have installed 𝗃𝗏𝗏, we have installed SonarQube. One specific thing we need to do here. For Java and Maven, we need to define capabilities. Capabilities is basically some kind of requirement that will be needed while running an application. So for our Java based project, we need to make sure to define predefine it that tool like Java and Maven both are present on this agent. So that we can do by click on capability. First, I'm going to write Maven, and value it's going to be true. That means ki Maven is present. Okay. Same thing I'm going to do for Java as well, and here also I'll be writing true. Okay, so this part is done, and let us log into SonarQube. So by default, the username of SonarQube is going to be admin, and password is also going to be admin. If you're setting it for the first time, this will be the default values. Click on login, and let us set up new password. So SonarQube is set up now, and you can see installation of plugins. A plugin has been detected. That means that's what I was trying to say. There is a plugin known as community branch plugin, that is a third-party plugin created by different developers to avoid purchase of developer edition, because it is costly. Okay, so I can click on understand the risk, and this is the latest version of SonarQube. We can confirm by going to administration, and here system. So we are using the versions 10.3.0, which is one of the latest, I guess. So SonarQube is set up, right? Next step, what we need to do, we can go back to a project. Okay, and now let's do one thing. Let us start our agent also. So I can go to my agent. I can /run.sh, and this will start the agent. Let's wait for this. Okay, so agent is started now. Before we start integration of all those tools, SonarQube and everything, let us just run it one time to see if we are able to use our agent or not. So 1 second, give me 1 second. Let me use different mouse. Initially it might seem a little bit hard, but once you watch the video and once you practice it one time, it will become very easy. Okay, so agent pool. So here we can select the agent pool that we created, which is Aditya, and here you see this parameter. So basically, when your POM file is present on root directory, that's why it's written just pom.xml. If it in case it is present somewhere else, you need to provide that path here. Second option is this, we are not going to change. Then we have agent. Okay, and here also we are going to select our own pool that we have created. Rest nothing change, and here we are running the test case, right? But here the thing is jar file won't be present, so let me just add one more task. It's very easy. We can just clone it, and here I can write the command as package maven package, and what it's going to do, it's going to build the application. Okay, so now I can click on save, and one second, this is fine. Yeah, so I can click on save and queue. If you just want to save it and not trigger it, you can click on save, and if you want to trigger it, you can click on save and queue. And here if you want to put some comment, you can put, else simply click on save and run. And now let's see the status. Same thing, like if I go here, so here you can see running job, agent job 1. So that means our the agent that we just added, it has picked up the this pipeline and it is able to run. So now let's see. First stage is checkout, creating a local copy of the repository. Second, we have maven test, which is to run the test cases. Okay, so let's wait for this. Okay, meanwhile this is getting done, what I can do, maybe I can create the Kubernetes service, because I'm not sure like how much time it takes to download all the dependencies. Okay, okay, it's okay, it won't take much time, I guess. Also team, see, be very clear about this thing, AWS versus Azure DevOps. So from my whatever experience I have, like total 5 working with these things, so AWS mostly is much better for infra-related things. If you want to create some resource EKS, ECR and use it, it's better. But if you want to create pipelines for build and deployment, Azure is much better in that. Okay, so it's almost completed. You can see here it says uploading 2 files. Okay, I'll show you what files and which files it's uploading. So I guess pipeline is success. Now here you see this option, one published. Okay, if I click on that, it takes me to artifact location where we can see a drop folder. If I expand it, you can see we have 2 folders here. One is like maven, which is like some default folder, and one is target folder, which is the one that we want to use. Okay, the reason for like publishing these artifacts separately on drop folder is that we can download it. We can directly download it. So in case we want to keep these artifacts locally, we can download it very easily and we can keep it on our machine. Okay, so now first step is completed. Now next step, we are going to integrate different things. Okay, so first we need to integrate, let us talk about integrating SonarQube. Okay, just remember this package, you don't need to add it here, it can be later also. Okay, I just added so that we can see the jar file. Okay, now talking about adding SonarQube stage. So how we can do that, because by default SonarQube won't be available inside Azure DevOps platform. So basically, similar to Jenkins, in Jenkins we have the option to download plugins, right? Similar to that, we have Azure DevOps Marketplace. You see this option, browse Marketplace. So basically we can please mute your mic. So basically what we can do, we can go, guys, please mute your mic. So basically what we can do, we can go to this extension marketplace, and there instead of calling them plugins, we call them as extensions. For example, if I search here as SonarQube, so we should be able to see some plugins which is from SonarQube. You can see SonarQube and SonarCloud is available. SonarCloud is simply like you can use a publicly available SonarQube platform. Okay, and here you can see the tick mark also, that means it is the official plugin. So I can click on this, click on get it for free, and it's going to like ask me to install, like if I want to add this extension in our Azure DevOps platform or not. So let's wait for this to come. Here also it's okay. So yeah, here in case you are having multiple organization, you can simply drag drop, sorry, you can expand it and you can select it, click on install. So since I just have one organization at this point, so I'm adding it, right? And now it's added. So we can go to our organization back, go to project, pipelines, click on edit and click on here plus icon, and now we can search SonarQube. It may not be, as of now it's not available because it takes few minutes to be like after we install the extension or plug extension, it takes some time to get like available. So let me just keep trying and we should be able to see somewhere. Yes, so you see these three options are available now, right? So first I will be adding this prepare analysis configuration, and I can rename this to SonarQube prepare configuration. Any name you can give based on requirement. Now it is asking SonarQube server endpoint. Basically the server where we want to publish our report, we need to provide the URL. As of now it's not present, right? So we can click on new. Now basically you see this option, new service connection. Service connection is a way for authenticating to different servers through our Azure DevOps. Okay, so here we need to provide server URL. We can get it from here. I can copy that, paste it here, make sure that remove last slash, and we have token. So token we can generate. We can go to administration, security, users, and as of now we just having just one user, so we can create a token for that same user. We can put any name, expiration you can select and generate. Now this token, again you need to make sure that you are copying it somewhere because it won't be visible afterward. So we can paste that token here and we can give a name. Name can be SonCon or anything you want, you can put it. And I'm giving the access to this like service connection to all the other pipelines in the same project. Click on save. It's added. Now we have the option to choose the way you want to run analysis. We have three options: integrate with MS Build, integrate with Maven or Gradle, use standalone scanner. Now if you are having .NET based project, you can go with this. If you are having Maven or Gradle, you can go with this. The reason that, since even I'm having Maven but I'm not using this option, the reason that I'm not using because these are specific to Maven and Gradle only, and I want to use a way which can be effective irrespective of the programming language based project. So I can go ahead with standalone scanner that will be useful in different, that will be working in this also, working in this also. Now we have this mode. So basically, you know, we need to provide certain properties of SonarQube. In Jenkins we used to write like that, -d sonar so and so, like -d sonar project name, -d sonar project key. Similar to that we need to provide here. So two options here also we are having, sonar.project.properties. So this is a file that we can keep in our repository, or we can manually provide that. So manually also I'll just go with, just for those who want to see how it looks. Let me see if I see. So in this format, same thing you need to put, that whatever I'm going to write here, same thing is written here also, but we have defined that it should be taking values from here. Project key, so I can put port game, and same name I'm going to put as project name as well. And this source root directory, so just a dot, that means current directory. And then we have this advanced option. So in case of Java, we have binaries file also. So SonarQube requires access to those binaries file. So that we need to provide the location here. We can do sonar.java.binaries equal to, we can put like target. Yeah. So it's a folder inside which SonarQube will look. Okay. In case like you are not confused, or you are confused like where to put, you can simply put it dot also, and SonarQube will be able to find those details. Okay. Now this is done. Next step that we need to add is the actual analysis. So again I can search sonar and add this. Okay. And here make sure you're not changing anything. Okay. So this SonarQube is also added. Now let us talk about adding 𝗘𝗲𝗿. So the thing is, you know, if I open this in a new page, in marketplace we have 𝗘𝗲𝗿 extension as well. If I search here 𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗀. So it is available, but the reason that I was not using it because there was no tick mark. So I was not sure that if it is from the official 𝗃𝗲 or not. That's the reason I did not use it. Okay. So instead of that, what we can do, I can search here as cmd because 𝗃𝗲 is already installed on my machine. So I can add this and I can write the command 𝗃𝗲 scanning command directly here. So I can write here as let's say 𝗃𝗲 fs scan, and the command to perform 𝗃𝗲 scan is that 𝗃𝗲 fs hyphen format, because if you are generating the report in text format, it won't be user friendly format, it won't be in tabular format. So what I want to generate the report in a tabular format so that next time if anyone is going to analyze the report, they would be able to see it properly. So format I'm going to set up as table and output. So hyphen o, and I will write the report name as 𝗃𝗲-fs-report.html. Let me see. Yes, and then I can just put a dot, that means scan the current folder. Okay, now 𝗃𝗲 stage is added. We can run it one more time just to see if it is working fine or not. This stage is whatever we have added, if it is able to get executed or not. So meanwhile it is getting executed, we can try to set up our next step, which is for Docker. Okay, meanwhile once it is completed, we'll check out that as well. For Docker, now Docker is a very strange thing in this case. If I search Docker, multiple option we have this option also, build and push. Okay, and here if I try to save this, I'm not sure if it is going to get saved. Okay, great. So it is saved now, right? Here what we need to do, container registry. So where exactly we want to publish our artifacts, Docker images. So again, there is nothing present, so we can click on new. We need to set up new service connection. Options what we are having, Docker Hub, which is the public one, others if there are any other kind of like private registries, and then we have Azure Container Registry, which is inside Azure itself. So I'm going to select Docker Hub, provide username and password, and I can verify if my username password is correct or not. So verification is successful. We can provide a name as docconf, grant access and verify and save. Meanwhile, let me see the status of pipeline. SonarQube is running. Okay, so yeah, let it be. Meanwhile we can configure here. So service connection we have created for Docker also. Talking about container repository, so we need to provide a repository name where we want to publish our Docker image. So I can put a name as, let's say, 𝗗𝗲𝗿𝗀 and board AZ123. Just board Azure would be fine. So this will be the repository on which our Docker images are going to be pushed. And here, so here, you need to provide the location of Docker file where it is present. As you can see, what I have put, I have just used a regular expression to define that it's present on here itself, a Docker file, right? And here tags. So tags based on your requirement. If you want to have dynamic tag, you can put it here. I'll just go with latest. Okay, and these things, if you want, you can remove them or not also. Okay, so I can just save this, and meanwhile we can take a look at our pipeline. So pipeline is success, right? So if I go to SonarQube, we should be able to see the SonarQube report, and it is here, and you can see code coverage is also coming. That means it's working fine, right? And here you see this option. You see this is an expandable option. You can see this arrow key. This is available because we are using the community branch plugin. Okay, coming back here. So okay, as I say, Docker is like, definitely it's going to have issues. So whenever we try to configure first time, it gives some error. So you can see, yeah. So I'm just going to refresh this page and try to configure again the Docker stage. I'll select this one which is already available, and registry is going to be the same that we wrote previously, which is board Azure. Yeah, this is fine, board Azure. And here I'm going to put the tag as latest. Okay, and also what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a clone of 𝗃𝗲 to scan the Docker image. So I can write 𝗃𝗲 image scan, and here we are going to write 𝗃𝗲 image, and here we can write 𝗃𝗲 image report, and then the Docker image name. So it's going to be this one, latest. Okay, so let us save this and let us start also, and let's see how it works out. So meanwhile this is being done, now we can start creation of our Kubernetes cluster where we are going to deploy. Okay, so again I can go back to portal.azure.com, and here we can search for Kubernetes and click on the first option, Kubernetes services, expand it, click on create a Kubernetes cluster, and here we need to provide different information. So subscription, the one that I'm already having, it's going to be selected by default. If you are having multiple, then you can select the one that you want to use. Then we have resource group on which the resource I want to create, that is also already available. You can create also new. Cluster details. So since this is demo, here you can see it's properly categorized. If you are going to create production standard, dev test, production economy, or enterprise. So I'll just go with dev test for demo purpose, and here you can put a name. I can put 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 DevOps CICD, and here, yeah, see these things I'm not touching it because by default whatever is written here, it's coming as default. And basically in case of 𝗗𝗲𝗿𝗀, basically they have some limitations, lot of limitations there actually. So I try to use like the lower resources so that I do not get any kind of issues. And resources that we need to look for, yeah, these 3 points we need to make sure that we are like remembering. That means we should be taking the node pool size should be 𝗵𝗃. If I go back here, we can click on next, node pool. So basically I need to change this. I'll go here and CPU's yeah, 𝗵𝗃. This one 𝗵𝗃, yeah. So correct one I have selected. I can click on select, and number of node pools, like number of node that I want, it's going to be just 2. Maximum pods should be created, it's like I'm just going to put as 50. See, these things may change based on your requirement in the company. Okay, and yeah, click on update. And what else we need to change? Next, networking configuration, which one you want. Generally like Azure CNI is used, even in my current company, like we are using the project we are using, so in that we are using CNI only. And network policy, we will just leave it as it is. Next, disabled. So alerts also, as it says, like I need to disable it, so I have just disabled the alerts also. Click on next, and now what it's going to do, it's going to validate the configuration that I have given. It's going to validate if it is allowed to create or not, because I'm using a third-party subscription, so they have certain rules and policies set up that you need to use these resources only. So it's going to validate now all the configuration that I have provided, if it is aligned with the policies created. And you can see it's correct. Okay, so what I can do, I can click on create, and this creation of Kubernetes cluster, it takes quite some time, so just let us wait for it, and we can, yeah. So here we can see that our pipeline is success, all the stages are successful. Just to check if our Docker image is created or not, we can go to Docker Hub, we can go to Docker Hub repository, and we should be able to see our Docker image that we have created. We can see Azure 𝗘𝗿𝗄 board Azure last push 2 minutes ago. Okay, so that means that is also working fine. Now we can basically, this is the CI pipeline, the pipeline that we are running till now. It's a CI pipeline. Now we can configure the CD pipeline. In case of classic editors, we can create separately a release pipeline, or you can call it CD pipeline. Okay, So we are going to configure that. Before that, just to let you know, team, batch 5 is starting I think next week, 18th of May. So for those whoever is interested, you can just register. All these syllabus you'll be able to find in my Telegram channel. Side by side here also you'll be able to see. And one thing, the reason that like I'm telling here, ki most of people are suffering from one thing. In case of interviews, you lack the part real-time things. So that's what I try to focus on, because since beginning, as I started my career in IT sector, so I have been working since beginning as a DevOps engineer, and at this point I have worked on more than 31 projects, and everywhere I have seen like branching strategies, different production environment and everything. So whatever ways that I have used tools, same way I try to teach, and I try to teach inside out. Even for 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀, I'm not sure like people are using this same ways or not, these separate images or not, but since it was given to me as a POC that Aditya, you need to figure this out, you need to solve this problem. This was a problem that we were unable to use or perform analysis on the community version of 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀. Okay, so yeah, whatever I have done, whatever the ways that I have learned in my previous company, same thing I try to give in my course. And best part is that in my previous batch, batch 4, many of the students have taken multiple offers. Interesting thing is that many of them have very less knowledge in DevOps, but through course they learned the real-time things, how things happen. So that way they are able to do. That girl also who took like 7 offers recently within 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀 itself, that she also like studied from that. Okay, so yeah, if you're interested, you can just find all the details in the Telegram group, on my YouTube channel, on my LinkedIn, everywhere you'll be able to find. You can register if you're interested. We'll be having live sessions on weekends, but since our syllabus is quite big, so in order to cover everything in limited time, what I try to do, I take live sessions where we can have doubt sessions also. You are not restricted to ask any questions in the group, like in the call. You can ask any questions you want, and like on weekdays I'll be uploading recorded videos. So based on that, we'll be able to easily complete syllabus. Okay, coming back here. So yeah, so duration from my side I have given around like 2 months, where I will be completing teaching everything. So if you are practicing and learning side by side with me, within 2.5 months you will be mastering the course. You'll be having complete knowledge. And you know, it's not, you know, lots of people are teaching Git branching and so general branching strategy everyone is able to teach. There will be 5 environments: QA, PPD, dev, prod and DR. The thing is as I do consultation also in my current company for branching, so see, depending on how many environments we are having, based on that we need to decide what kind of branching strategy we need to use. Like for example, in my previous company we were having just QA and prod. So how we are going to perform all this PPD task and QA, PPD, dev, prod, DR, all those things, how we can manage it, those things also I try to teach. So whatever my teaching is there, it's not general teaching, it's completely real time, so that you get real knowledge how things happen. Yeah, so sure. So interested people, you can just check it out now. So coming back here, so deployment is complete. We can click on go to resource and we should be able to see our Kubernetes cluster created. Okay, and ignore this, it's not going to cause an issue. Now this is the CI pipeline we have created. Now in case of classic editor, we can go to release pipelines and we can create the release pipeline. Before that, one more thing, artifacts. Okay, so the thing is, you know, there is a tool Nexus. Similar to that, we have artifacts in this Azure DevOps, where we can store your artifacts. In Nexus, we call repositories where we store artifacts. Here we call them as feed. So if you want to connect to feed, you can click on connect here, and here you can decide the kind of artifacts you are having. For example, I'm having Maven, so I can click on that. And in order to configure our project so that we can publish our artifact to that, so we need to add these things, this part in our pom.xml file. Once we have added it, then second, this is basically adding the URL, repository URL. But second section you see here, it is basically authentication. You can see here username this, and password is personal access token. So this is the authentication part. Okay, so for this like Azure artifact we can use for publishing artifact. I'm not using it right now because I'm already like publishing my artifact to a drop folder, which is also accessible. But yeah, this will also be, I'll be creating a soon separate video because it is a little bit complex as compared to the whatever pipelines we created. Okay, coming back to our release pipeline, so we can click on releases, and here we can create our release pipeline, right? One more change that I want to show you, like automating. So let's say I want to completely automate that. If I push any kind of changes to my CI, the repository, so that will trigger the CI pipeline first, then CD pipeline afterward. So how we can do that, that also I'll be showing. Meanwhile, let us just create the CD, click on here, and let's say I'm just going with empty job as of now. Let me rename this first CD pipeline. Here we need to add an artifact. Okay, so artifact, main thing that we want is the deployment, that YAML file, manifest files, because using that only we can deploy the application. So what changes we need to do, because as of now, if I go back here, as of now we are just storing the artifact to drop folder, but not the we are just storing the jar file to drop folder, but we are not copying anything else. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add one more task, which is going to be a clone of this, and I'll just provide the name as copy manifest file, and here instead of this I can provide the name of my manifest files, which is in my local. This is the manifest files. I will copy this, add it here. That means key as an artifact both the files should be available, jar file and the manifest files. Let me just write this. Okay, so this is done. I'll just save it. I will not trigger it right now. And now we can go back here. We can first pipeline, we can select the pipeline. Here interesting thing is that you have the option to select other things also, right? You can directly pick up the file from Azure repo, and you can pick up from other places also. So I'm just going to take the DS file. I can pick up directly from here also, but I'm just picking up from the from my CI pipeline as an artifact. Okay, now here you see this option, continuous deployment trigger. If I enable it, what it's going to happen, as soon as the CI pipeline is completed, it's going to trigger the CD pipeline. Okay, one second, let me remove this. Include. So I'll just going to add the branch also, main. That's all. Maybe even if you don't add it, still it will work fine. Close this. Now this trigger is enabled. Okay, and here we can add the stages. So let me first provide the stage name. It's going to be deploy to K8, and here we can agent. So agent we can select our own. Okay, interesting thing is that we have not installed 𝗬𝗃𝗃 on our agent, right? So what we can do, we can click here, search for 𝗬𝗃𝗃, and you can see this option, 𝗬𝗃𝗃 tool installer. So I'm going to add it. It's going to install the latest one, and then we have this option, 𝗬𝗃𝗃. Now we can add this one. Here also we need to set up Kubernetes service connection. So as of now it's not set up, so we can click on new, and yeah, three options you see here as of now: kubeconfig, service account, and Azure subscription. Azure subscription, using that, the one that I created, it will be available, so we can add that. In case you are using a Kubernetes cluster that is not on the same Azure, and let's say you are using a self-hosted or you are using EKS, so basically what you can do, you can select kubeconfig, you can get their kubeconfig file, you can paste it here, and then you can just connect it. Okay, for us we are using our own Kubernetes cluster that we have set up inside our Azure subscription, so we can select that. Cluster name is appearing here, you can see Azure K8 DevOps Shack namespace. So I can go with default, I can use the cluster admin, and I can provide the name as K8-con, and I can grant the access and save it. So this will take few seconds to set up. Meanwhile, yeah, this is also fine. Yeah, here in CI pipeline also we have this option trigger, using which we can automate it, so that if anything we are like committing or like pushing changes to our repository on this specific branch, then CI pipeline will also be getting triggered. Okay, so yeah, this we can do and save this. Here namespace we can provide. As of now, I'm just deploying it to default command. So we have these multiple commands, out of which we can either use create or apply. But since apply can be used for the first deployment and moving forward all the other deployments also, so we can use apply. Talking about use configuration. So now you can see this option file path. So I can click on this file path. So as of now, see, as of now, our this deployment service YAML file is not added. So let me quickly run this pipeline one time so that we can get the YAML manifest files. Yes. Also, one more thing I'll tell you, this step that you are seeing, it may seem very simple. This copy files, it seems very simple, but the thing is key, one of the project out of 30 like I'm supporting in my company, so there we deploy files files to data factory and Databricks. So those files are basically kept in repository, and we just run these three commands to make sure that those files are available in the form of artifact, and we can use them directly to deploy. So these steps seem very simple, that we are just copying files and publishing it as an artifact, but these steps are very important. Okay, and yeah, let's wait for this to complete. Once this is completed, then we can configure the YAML manifest files here, and then we can automate everything. So first time what we can do, we can add some changes to repos that should trigger the CI pipeline, and eventually after completion of CI pipeline, it should be triggering the CD pipeline. Yeah, let's wait for a few minutes. Meanwhile, till here, anyone having any kind of doubts? Sorry? In CI, you are saying in triggers? Yeah, so basically we can decide key, see, we can have multiple branches. So we can decide key based on which branch. Yes. Actually, path filtration, I'm not sure, I did not use, but from what I assume, it's going to be something like specific folder changes. I think we can add here, but I have not used it in my company. Also, we are just using the branch specific. But from path, as the name suggests, I think this should be for the folder contribution. Like if you're adding some things to specific folders, then it should be working. Because recently I was working with GitHub Actions on one project. I have not yet uploaded it. So in that, you can, it was very interesting project I've been making soon. So the thing is there are 5-6 folders. So each folder is containing one test cases, another folder containing different test cases, like that. So basically when you want to execute test cases of specific folder, so the way that it can be configured, we can define in the pipeline that if changes are pushed to specific folder, and test cases of that folder should be running only. So same thing, I guess it should be here also. Yes. Okay, so this pipeline is done. Let us try to access our artifact now. If we have, yeah, so we have this deployment service YAML file. I have selected it, and as of now, since I am not using like secrets also, because Docker images are publicly available. Okay, but in case you are using the private repositories, then you can configure those things here so that images can be pulled from private repository. Okay, and this is fine. Let me save this. Just deployment trigger and no filters added. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let us make sure that we have this trigger enabled in CI pipeline also. And now let us try to make some changes in our repo. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to update the Docker image name in my repo, and we can get the Docker image here. Everything seems fine. You can see it started. As soon as I push changes to like repository, this pipeline started trigger. So this is one of the ways that we can automate completely, like at least for lower branches or something, we can automate it completely, so that once like for example, one thing I'll show you. If I go here, triggers, we have this option. Based on pull request we can configure, okay, because like whenever we push any changes, so basically what happens if new feature needs to be added, so how we can do that, what happens, we can click on pull request, click on new pull request. So let's say I want to merge changes from main branch to DR or the vice versa. So based on that, it's going to commit the changes into the repository. So as soon as this merge completes, then we can that should be triggering the pipeline, okay. And for example, just to see, if I create, you see there are tons of options here available. Reviewers, so generally me and my teammate, we are added as a reviewer. If any like merges are there that needs to be done, so dev team, it's going to add me and my teammate as a optional reviewer. Optional reviewer means ki if I can review, then also it's fine, I can complete the merge. If my teammate is available, he can do, okay. Based on that, merge happens. Okay, coming back to the pipeline. So if I go here also you can see on our agent page, so all the pipelines whichever we have running, so all the status is there. Also, if I open the page in, let me show you the workspace. If I go to my agent ls cd_work cd1, okay. So our project repository, you see this target folder is available here along with this HTML files of our trivia report, okay. So these are the byproducts that got created. This is the workspace of our like pipeline, okay. This pipeline is success, release. You can see release also got started. We can open this and we can check the status here. So first it's going to install 𝗬𝗍𝗔 latest version. Also one more thing team, so if I open this, click on edit, if you want to just, let's say for example, like we have already, by running this one time, the 𝗬𝗍𝗔 tool will be installed. So let's say I don't want to run it again, so I can simply disable this and save this. So next time if this CD pipeline got triggered, only 𝗬𝗍𝗔 apply task will be executed. Okay, so this is success. Let me see here. Okay, so now what we can do, we can go back to our Azure repository and let's see what changes we can see there. So on left side you will see Kubernetes resources, whatever is available. For us, we need to see the workload first, so that we can see if our pod is getting created or not. You can see this is the pod, okay, and there are 2 replicas, I say, yeah, 2 pods are there. Now to how we can access it, sorry about we can go to services and ingresses. Here we can see this one, right? This is the service and this is the URL on which our application should be accessible, and you can see application is running fine now, okay. So this is how, this is, it's not very complex thing. What I showed, it's the basic one, because lots of people are still new to Azure DevOps. So the first is starting, like for first time practicing, this is what you can do. You can deploy application using load balancer, and external IP will be available using which you can access your application.